welcome to Hold Up, a Movie Podcast. Last time we stole a few hours to talk about heist movies, but that episode is out of sight. Tonight, we take a higher way and enjoy some views. De plane, we find ourselves saying. Let's take off for a red-eyed flight and hopefully stick the landing. None of us are pilots, but that's apropos for this show. We are hijacked up for this one, because tonight's theme is airplanes. We might even talk a little jive. Uh, I am your host, Davan, and with me, as always, my co-pilot, Chris Worldmind Murphy.
What a tie, good sir. It's gonna be a good podcast, I think. The skies are clear, and the films were pretty awesome, in my
Were
opinion.
they?
So I'm gonna
Were
have some
they?
good times. I think
Were
so.
they? We're gonna have lots to talk about tonight. And with us as you know, again, returning guest, our blow up doll pilot, if you will.
Our
Um,
auto.
yeah,
This
our
is
autopilot.
Autopilot.
Yeah, this is our autopilot.
How do you read me?
Shijumi Mike Henry.
I'm glad to be here. If you look out your left side, you will see my cat drinking some water. So we're ready
Ah,
to
My
go.
right side, my cat wants some snuggles, I think. He wants some snuggles. Very cute.
my cat is currently licking her paws and chaps after having a mouthful of snacks. Adorable.
Very cute. All right. Well, we're
Seats in
here
the
to talk
upright
about.
position. Let's take
Well,
off.
so your early thoughts on this was a lot of good movies. Is that what you're saying, Murphy?
In various categories, and yeah, I thought they were great movies. Um, you know, uh, yeah, like initial
All right.
thoughts. Yeah, yeah, straight
What
up.
about you, Mike?
I think there is one great movie. There is one very interesting movie, and my personal pick is an intentionally very bad movie. That's what I think.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go out there and say there's one bad movie, one boring movie, and one pretty good movie. But we'll talk about it. It's
Sorry.
we've had some stinkers lately on this show, I think. But I'm a little annoyed that Murphy picked an anime right before the anime episode, making me watch four animes in a row instead of three.
I thought
Um,
it would make an excellent segue, and I'm not disappointed I picked that film. That film was excellent as hell. It was apropos to the theme of planes. So it was
well, let's.
if
There were
if
You are
any
planes.
of the
technically
films,
correct,
it was
and that is the
poetry.
best kind of correct.
There were planes in all these films. We might have nailed the theme better than usual, but it was you guys wanted to pick jets, and I kiboshed that right away.
I
This is
maintain
airplane.
that debunking and analyzing military aircraft movies would be a hell of a lot more interesting.
We'll
Civilian
get
airplane
there,
movies are they're dangerous,
but they're a different feel for sure.
very much.
Different than like war, which we've already done. Which the fighter pilot one just would have felt like war. We'll get to it, but it just would have been a lot of the same.
Listen, I could have
Um,
gone with Soul Plane, but I chose not to because how could we ever top such an excellent passenger film? I'm just gonna
I've
say
never
that.
seen Soul Plane.
Oh, I should have
Me
gone with
neither.
Soul Plane.
Even
Oh, I
even as an
really should have
airplane
gone
person,
with Soul
someone who
Plane.
literally owns an aviation headset, I have never seen Soul Plane.
Why didn't I go with Soul Plane?
You should have gone with Soul Plane.
Ah, hindsight's
Well,
2020, huh?
Murphy blowing his pick again. This is apropos for this show as well. All right, so what do we
I
got
didn't blow the pick. The
in?
pick was a good pick. You're just too tired to watch good films.
Well, sometimes that might be the case, but I don't know. I don't think that was the case here. I don't think that it was my fault. I think it was the movie's fault, but we'll talk about that. All right, so here in Theater 1, we've got Airplane! Exclamation mark. From 1980, starring Robert Hayes, Julie Haggerty, Leslie Neilson, Canada's own. Robert Stack and Lloyd Bridges. Directed by David Zucker, Jerry Zucker, probably some more Zuckers, and Jim Abrams. Yeah. Got a
Well,
trailer
the
for us
Zuckers
here,
and the
Murphy?
Abrams are absolutely hands down the greatest comedy creators, as far as I'm concerned. Hot Shots, Airplane. I mean, they nail it.
Well,
Check
you
out
can
the
tell
Zucker
they're
brothers
made
trailer.
from the same people. Like, there's a
Those three people
style
that
here.
did this. Jim Abrams and the Zucker brothers. That's like one of the few movies that has three directors. But yes, we do have a trailer, a classic, if you will.
Stand by for the most extraordinary chain of events ever swept up into high adventure.
Jaws?
Hey, Larry, where's the forklift? Forklift!
There's Jim the Abrams and I believe that's Jerry Zucker there.
So funny they say High Adventure, and the alternate title for this
Airplane
movie is
is
Flying High.
This is Dr. Brody at the Mayo
Or
Clinic.
High Fly.
There's a
one of the
passenger
other.
Alright,
on
give
your
me ham
Chicago
on
flight
5, hold the mail.
209, a little girl named Lisa Davis, en route to Minneapolis. She's scheduled for a heart transplant.
There's
I want
so
you to
many-
make sure that she's kept
so
in a
many
reclined
jokes.
position and that a continuous watch is kept on her IV.
Airplane is action.
I love that scene. That was such a good
It's
scene.
so good. That
Airplane
whole bar
is
scene.
romance.
Oh god.
I love you, Elaine.
I love you.
Again, the flashbacks I found kind of annoying. I don't like flashbacks.
There is only one sea.
Airplane is dancing.
Yes, here we go. Another part.
Oh my.
We're gonna show the sailor that was stabbed in the back.
Never has the screen been so big.
You ever been in a cockpit before?
No, sir, I've never been up in a plane before.
Peter Graves,
You ever seen a grown man naked?
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar,
My name's Roger Murdoch. I'm an airline pilot.
Leslie Nielsen,
This woman has to be gotten to a hospital.
A hospital? What is it?
It's a big building with patients. That's not important right now.
Lloyd Bridges,
Johnny, what can you make out of this? This?
Ah, what a legend, Lloyd Bridges.
What a
Oh,
brilliant.
yeah, there's a lot of legends in this movie.
Robert Stack,
All right, Steve, let's face a few facts.
Tonight on Unsolved
We
Mysteries.
hope you enjoy the rest of your flight.
Julie Haggerty,
By the way, is there anyone on board who knows how to fly a plane?
That's not gonna set off some
Robert
hysteria.
Hayes,
Surely you can't be
Julie
serious.
Haggerty's first role.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
I gotta get out of here.
Don't call me sure.
Out of here. Down,
Might be
get a
one
hold
of
of
the
yourself.
most classic comedy
Get a hold of yourself.
Take care of this. Calm down.
So that was the actress's idea, this whole gag.
That's pretty funny.
Kind of like Quentin Tarantino filming foot scenes.
Mayday!
All right, now everybody, get in crash positions.
the most incredible adventure the
Crash
screen has
positions.
ever created.
It's coming right at us.
The big news is
Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was my pick. Wow, what's going on there? All right.
I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, this was my
Yes,
pick.
this
I
was-
had never really seen it all the way through. I had just caught pieces of it on TV. So,
Wow.
but as a kid, I had watched Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part 2 especially a million times. I like this movie better than those movies, I think. I think those movies, now I see where they came from. And I feel like those movies just do this again, but not as good or with as good of actors.
I mean,
I know I've just upset Mike Henry because he's a Hot
I
Shots
love
guy.
I love Airplane. Okay, I love it. I love it to my core. But Hot Shots Part 2 is probably my favorite comedy movie of all time.
Out of all of the
I loved it
parody
as a kid.
films, Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part 2 surpass Airplanes by
Especially part
levels.
2. It's just there are. I've seen
No.
that movie. I would say
Yes,
probably
yes.
over 50 times, and every time I watch it, I'm like, holy shit! I never noticed that joke. That's wild. Airplane, I love, and it's the OG. It's the original Zucker Abrams joint, but Hot Shots Part 2
Say-
really
It could be like
Say with your heart,
recency
Mike.
bias or the fact that it's fresh a comedy to me. Like I can still remember all the gags from Hot Shots Part 2, and I'm pretty sure those gags won't make me laugh anymore. Um, but these ones were fresh and they did make me laugh.
That's fair.
Murphy?
There was a lot of laugh moments with this film for me. It was pretty much the way I remember it when seeing it ages ago. All the big beats, the Shirleys and the
Yeah, like that
slap
one,
the
everyone's heard
woman.
that.
Yeah, that's one of the most famous.
Don't call
lines
me
in-
Shirley.
in
In the glue
yeah.
one, everyone knows that line.
Yeah.
But
Just sort of appreciating the older actors because of their more nuanced stuff now. It was fun to watch. But out of all of our movies, it had the most like basic storyline, but it was presented as a joke, and that's what it was meant to be because it is the parody film that sort of spawned the whole genre of parody films. If it wasn't for the Zaz
Yeah, like,
guys,
you could-
we wouldn't have Hot Shots, and we wouldn't have 95%.
This
of the
movie
parody films that we
spawned
do
like the
have.
Naked Gun series too, really.
Yeah.
I mean, they took this Leslie Nielsen character and just made the Naked Gun. Instead of a doctor, they made him a cop. But like,
But also, I mean, you
Yeah.
say that that it was really original and that it spawned all these ideas, but I mean, half of the lines from this film were taken from a very, very serious airplane film in the 70s. Absolutely, like taken verbatim from it.
just
Yeah.
paid for jokes.
We have to find
movie?
somebody who can not only fly this plane, but who didn't have fish for dinner. Was literally a line from an actual drama movie that they didn't have to adjust at all for the parody.
What
right?
movie?
I
That
think-
movie is called
Was it
Zero
Airport
Hour.
77? Zero Hour.
No,
Zero.
yeah, it's 0 Hour, and it's a
No,
film
Airport
that-
77 is a great movie. I almost picked it. I love that movie.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Nice.
Oh yeah.
0 Hour actually was a film that ended up being the rights were owned. The guys that made this film got the rights to 0 Hour, and then they basically were just like, all right, we're gonna take like the plot and some of the foolish lines, put it in this thing, and then make our jokes, and that's what they did.
It's pretty funny. Well, kick us off with the synopsis, why don't you, Murphy?
All right, so Airplane 1980. Gonna slap this up on the screen. Had the greatest actors: Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as Murdoch, Leslie Nielsen as Dr. Rumick, Lloyd Bridges as McCroskey, Robert Hayes as Ted Stryker, Julie Haggerty as Elaine, Laura Patterson as Randy, the other flight attendant, Peter Graves as Captain Ouvert.
Captain Over. That was a funny
Over.
gag too.
Yeah.
Over, Roger. He's like,
We
Roger,
have
over.
clearance, Clarence. Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
Robert
That was a good
Stack as
gag.
Kramer, who is amazing.
Robert Stack was my favorite in this.
And Steven Stucker as Johnny, and then introducing Otto as himself. We've got Airplane. Sorry, just do it. There we go. It's a 1980 American satirical comedy film directed by Jim Abrams and the Zucker brothers, Jerry and David. The film stars Robert Hayes as Ted Stryker, an ex-fighter pilot who is determined to win back the love of his ex-girlfriend, Elaine Dickinson. Stryker is he's traumatized war veteran, and he's turned a taxi driver. Ted's fear of flying and his drinking problem have prevented him from holding down a responsible job. Elaine, now flight attendant with Ted before boarding a flight from Los Angeles to Chicago. In an effort to regain her love, Ted overcomes his fear of flying and buys a ticket on the same flight. Once on board, Ted attempts to reconcile with Elaine and is met with continuous rejection, causing him to reminisce sadly in the midst of his sorrow. Ted inadvertently drives several other passengers to suicide by monologue, which was fucking one of the funniest like continuing jokes for me.
Yep.
I love this like little cameo here from what was
So
it?
I
It was
feel
like
about flashbacks, though. So I understand where those people where they were coming from. It's like, yeah, not another flashback, and then like they commit suicide over it.
yeah, I don't know if
I
anyone
didn't go
caught
quite
this.
that far, but I knew where they were coming.
I don't know if anyone caught this cameo from Jimmy J.J. Walker here, which was pretty good.
Oh yeah, I thought that looked like Jimmy Walker. That's pretty funny.
The cab scene right there. That's another one of my favorite callbacks from this movie, when Stryker leaves the cab, but puts the meter running, and they keep coming back to that guy sitting in the back of the cab every like 30-40 minutes throughout the movie, and he's just waiting for Ted Stryker to come back, and the meter's still running.
He's gonna have quite the taxi fare. Oh my!
Don't be so naive,
Yeah,
Arthur. But yeah, as the flight
naive.
progresses, basically the entire flight crew, Captain Clarence Over, played by Peter Graves, and co-pilot Roger Murdoch, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, falls ill after consuming the in-flight meal of fish, which is revealed to have caused food poisoning.
Except he's also actually Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah.
In this movie.
Yeah.
Like
Well, but
he's just
playing Roger
he's playing
Murdoch.
himself pretending to be a pilot.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Which is again a pretty funny gag. So like,
Like
are you
when
Kareem
Little
Abdul-Jabbar? He's
Jimmy
like, no, I'm Murdoch.
It's like, no, you're definitely, you were like Kareem Abdul. My dad's like totally over the points. You're good. He's like, listen,
Listen,
you
kid.
try and play 20 games, man. Come on.
You tried dragging his ass up and down the court for 40
There's
minutes.
like this one continuous bit too with these two kids who are acting like super posh adults.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is this? It's like every I don't
no
know.
thanks.
No thanks.
I like it black, like my men.
It's like, what the fuck?
This movie had an incredible amount of like very inappropriate jokes these days. Jokes that would not fly, but good goddamn, they're funny. Timmy, have you ever been in a Turkish prison?
I couldn't keep it together. That was probably one of the funniest like continuous jokes going on, which was he was just like hitting on the kid, and then like was it Ethel Merman showed up in this like one scene at one point too.
Yep.
Apparently this was her last film out of all of her career before she ultimately passed. But yeah, so basically everyone gets food poisoning because they were eating the fish. Then obviously the flight pilots, begin to start like dropping with no one capable of flying. The plane, Elaine contacts the Chicago control tower and is instructed by tower supervisor Steve Makrowski, who's played by Lord Bridges, to activate the autopilot. The airplane's autopilot, a large blow-up dummy named Otto, which can fly the plane but cannot land it. And this was Mike's favorite scene that held up.
Automatic pilot. There it is.
I'll go back to the passengers.
Autopilot, and also when she has to reinflate him using the air valve near his belt line.
Oh my. Oh yes.
Yeah, which was, a joke that definitely went over my head when I was a kid. I was surprised to be like, wow, there's a lot of humor I didn't get when I was a young man, but she apparently enjoyed it as well, as you can see.
It was good for him too.
Yes, it was. So basically, all the pilots have passed out, and they can't fly the plane. This it's kind of just this scene.
It was just in time. He blew it out.
He blew it out.
But he did not.
Oh my god, I couldn't. I was just like, okay. So yeah, realizing that Ted is their only hope, Elaine convinces him to take control of the aircraft. However, Ted still believes his trauma will prevent him from landing the plane safely. McCroskey calls Ted former commanding officer Captain Rex Kramer, who is now commercial pilot, to help him guide Ted through the landing. I think this was gonna be my favorite scene almost, but I think I picked something else. Yeah, I did. I ended up picking something else, but I almost picked
You
this.
could have picked
Just
the jive talking guys too, but I didn't because they're pretty hilarious.
Oh, that was
Excuse
so
me,
good.
stewardess. I speak jive.
Yeah.
So those guys were like they pretty much for the most part improvised all that stuff on at the
Oh
time.
man, it's so funny. It's so funny.
Write them down and smack them, yak them. Shit. And with the subtitles, golly.
Yeah, the subtitles are what makes it for sure.
Where was that? Yeah, so Ted's former commanding officer, Captain Rex Kramer, played by Robert Stack, who's now a commercial pilot to help him guide the landing. Elena's
history
co-pilot
with our protagonist.
What was this guy famous for? It was like that show.
Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah, Unsolved Mysteries. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I wanted to think Outer Limits for a second, but no, it was Unsolved Mysteries.
I don't know, man. Unsolved Mysteries used to scare the shit out of me because they tell you about like
Yes.
psycho killers that like kidnap children, and then they're like, and this is an unsolved mystery.
He's still out there.
Yeah, everyone is still at large on this show, always. It's like, oh my gosh. It was on right after Rescue 911, which was also traumatizing.
And this is where my personal anxiety started, was watching shows like this as a child.
Yeah, me too.
And this was actually where Davan's favorite scene from this movie begins to hold up.
Yeah.
Oh, wrong one. Sorry.
Oh no.
Oh, that was good. Harrison Ford wasn't in that movie at all.
Not much at all.
One hope is to build this man up. I'm gonna give him all the confidence I can. Stryker, you ever flown a multi-engine plane before?
No, never.
Shit. It's a goddamn waste of
time. So where you can land this plane?
Hold yourself. You gotta talk about it. You gotta.
Route him into Lake Michigan. At least he'll avoid killing innocent people.
You're the only chance they've got.
Oh, God.
All right. Stryker?
All right.
Listen close. Flying a plane is no different than riding a bicycle. Just a lot harder to put baseball cards in the spokes.
Just a lot harder to put baseball cards in the spokes.
That made me laugh again, and I just watched it. So, yeah, that's a hilarious gag.
Yeah, it holds up for sure. So yeah, basically
like a similar. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Steer him into the lake.
I was going to say, unlike a similar scene, there's a similar scene where Stryker is tasked with flying the plane, and he says, "Well, I've only ever flown single-engine plane. This plane has 4 engines. It's an entirely different kind of flying." And then I think it's Leslie Neilson and one of the air hostesses goes, "It's an entirely different kind of flying," which was a funny joke at the time because that was a commercial for an American airline. It's an entirely different kind of flying, but that's a joke that no longer holds up in any way. Let that be a lesson to filmmakers.
I don't know if I put that one. I was reading when I was doing my movie morsels that the lady that's like, my husband normally doesn't drink coffee in the afternoon, and she says it like,
coffee at home.
He never drinks coffee at home. You know, apparently that was a play off of a specific coffee commercial that little to everyone denounced to everyone that had made the film. They had actually cast the same woman from that commercial in the role of the film.
No kidding.
Yeah, and they didn't even realize it. They didn't even realize it at all.
Oh, it wasn't intentional. That's fantastic.
No, yeah, it wasn't intentional at all. And
you need like a type like that coffee woman. That's the type of actress we need. Like, I know just the actress.
She totally gets the role. Like, it's fantastic. So basically they've got to fly it back to Chicago. He's not totally sure if he can do it. But in the chaos of landing in Chicago, they take out the disco radio station WZAZ, which is a nod to the directors and stuff. Then you get that classic shot where he's starting to sweat. This is actually where my favorite scene comes up for this one, where this one holds up.
Sure is quiet out there.
Yeah, too quiet.
You two were a great team together.
The wrong week
Oh
to
my
quit
God.
sniffing glue.
See, like, to me, that was a Hot Shots joke, and that's why I don't think Hot Shots holds up as well. It's a little more
That's
juvenile.
a
innocent
Lloyd
little-
Bridges joke. It's a Lloyd Bridges.
And that's why I
joke.
love
That's
Lloyd
badass.
Bridges more than I love Leslie Nielsen.
Agreed.
I will
I'm
go out there and say it.
wholeheartedly with you on that point. I think
just-
Lloyd Bridges
I
is.
flippin' love Lloyd Bridges.
Yeah.
I love him. He's
A little over the
ridiculous.
top,
He's like
maybe.
a Rowan Atkinson, you know? Just completely ridiculous, over the top, ludicrous, hilarious actor.
And he jumps out the window. It's pretty fun.
So yeah, despite encountering bad weather and the landing gear shearing off, Ted manages to land the plane with only minor injuries on passengers as they proceed to head to the gate 8, gate 19, and having everybody land. Everybody jumps out of the plane for their safety. You know, we've got Robert Stack, Rex Kramer, just still monologuing, going on about this.
Nobody's listening.
Impressed
You
by
know, you
Ted's
did
display of
good.
courage.
You did good, Stryker. Let me
Let me tell you about
his
that
big
time
moment.
of the war. Elaine embraces him, gives him a big old kiss, and rekindle the relationship. As they walk to the plane being evacuated, they witness the inflatable autopilot Otto taking control and taking over the plane.
Where's he going?
He gets
He
an
can't
inflatable
land, but
female
he can take
companion,
off.
and they fly off together. Yeah, and that's the end of the film.
I would think taking off is even harder than landing.
Oh Lord, no! You just advance the throttles and make sure that you don't go off the runway, and you're good to go. Taking off is extraordinarily easy.
I'm gonna do it right now then.
Let's go. Let's take off.
Yeah. Well, that's Airplane. So let's the plot storytelling. I mean, there isn't, like you say, there's not much of one. It's just gag after gag, which is kind of the style of these guys' movies. But the good actors kind of held it up for me. One too many flashbacks, but they even made a gag out of that, so like that helped. Yeah, you know, plot storytelling wasn't really the point.
Yeah, no, I mean it was very much like, you know, they were the joke, but the fact that they were able to get so many like A+, like high grade legendary actors to just like play comedic roles, because this was Leslie Nielsen's first comedic role ever. He was notoriously famous for like huge drama roles, and he was concerned about being stuck as like a grandfather sort of, you know, typecast. And he,
oh man, he had a whole second career.
He literally got a second career because of this film. So like, good for him.
And then the Order of Canada.
Oh yeah, he did get an Order of Canada.
Leslie
didn't he?
Nielsen, OC.
Man, they don't hand those out often, do they?
No, you know, not that I don't have one.
Yeah.
You know who else is
I
in
have
this movie? As an air traffic controller named Gunderson is Mr. Michael Ehrmantraut himself, Jonathan Banks. Very
Yeah, I
briefly
saw him. Yeah. Yeah, I was like, "Oh, yo, it's Jonathan Banks. What's he doing in here?"
Yeah.
But he was so just like kind of like ancillary. I was like,
Oh,
waiting for him to do
100%.
something
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
It was
No, he
like
had
just a
really
small
nothing
part.
to do with the plot at all. No. It's one of his first roles. But it's just fun to see him as a super young guy who still has no hair. He's one of those people that was just permanently old, you know? He's like another Morgan Freeman.
Well,
Like
he
he
looked
was
kind of
born
like
old.
he looked like he did when he was in the Gremlins film, so it's a good chance he probably filmed them both around the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, what Gremlins came out in, what was it, 84? So, yeah.
I was gonna say 83, but yeah, around there for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, no, that's the that's kind of, it's not much of a plot in the story to like it's out of all the films that we've watched, this one is the most, I don't want to say it's a pretty hollow plot, but it's, because there's a lot of fancy decoration in
It's the least
bits.
plot driven, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, which performance would you hold up there, fellas? For me, Robert Stack and Leslie Nielsen. I'm gonna pick two. I liked Leslie Nielsen's deadpan was pretty classic. I can see why it spawned a lot more of that. Like legendary deadpan, perfect for this kind of movie.
Yeah.
And Robert Stack, he was just kind of playing it straight the whole time, which was hilarious. Everyone else around him, especially, that's why him and Bridges were such a good team. Bridges is so wacky, and Robert Stack's just playing it straight. He's frustrated. Like, yeah, those are my
I don't
picks.
No, yeah, they had these like sort of yeah, they worked their characters well. For without a shadow of doubt, the one performance that held up for me was Lloyd Bridges. His ability to seamlessly live in a parody world, and act like everything is completely normal, and just blend. Like the whole scene where he's, telling Ansel, like just background characters, you gotta go do this, you do this, you do this. Where's Stack? His wife calls. He's like, don't, tell the milkman we don't need any more cheese, and he hangs up, and he's just ripping off these lines and these directions.
No more cheese.
Pacing. Yeah, it's like he's so good. He's so good in the film. Yeah,
And that's spawned like his role. They just carried that over into Hot Shots. They just made him a Navyman, but it's the same guy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well,
I slipped on a crab. Who put those crabs there?
Yeah, he was an admiral in the first and the president in the second,
exactly.
Of course. Fantastic stuff, though. Coming off of Marine One, the helicopter, waving his hat in the air, and the rotor blades chopping into smithereens that turn into confetti. Great stuff. I mean, I love gag comedy. I really do. Classic. I love it. I love it. And Airplane,
love a good gag.
Hot Shots, they all have so much of it. When Kramer hears about this, the shit's gonna hit the fan. Like, it's great stuff.
Fuck yeah.
There's some classic gags in this one for sure. All right, the setting and aesthetic. I mean, it's fine. It's wacky.
Well, it's wacky.
Yeah. It was made pretty cheap. It doesn't look like they spent their money on the actors, not the props or the backgrounds or the sets.
Sets are terrible, and it was terrible on purpose, right? They filmed this jet plane, the Boeing 707, and intentionally made it with turboprop, like propeller airplane noises. So you're seeing this jet flying through the air that normally makes jet sounds, but you'll notice that every time they show the jet from the outside, it goes like a big propeller plane. Because they were intentionally being like, we are so low budget, we cannot afford jet airplane noises.
Or that was an intentional choice. I don't think it was.
It very
I don't.
was.
I don't think it was so low budget, because if you guys think it's low budget, you'll be surprised at what the budget was for this film. Actually,
I think they spent money on the actors.
I
like even just to get Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to show up. Like, what do you think that costs?
Well, I mean, you got to think about the airport. You got to think about the control tower. You got to think about,
the fact that they actually ran a Boeing 747 through a gigantic plate glass window. Where's the forklift? Forklift? It's over there by the baggage loader.
Yeah, well, That's a good point. Yeah, this probably did cost a fair bit of money. And it could still look cheap because they're spending money on some crazy shit.
Yep.
Why don't
The
you
only
hit us
reason
with
it
some...
looked cheap is because of lights and cameras. But that's the 80s, you know? So, movie morsels for 1980s Airplane. For the famous scene of the Boeing 747 crashing through the large windows inside the terminal, producer John Davison mentions that after the movie, he received numerous letters from various pilots telling him that they have come very close to reenacting that very scene in real life, with some pilots admitting that they had come so close as to touch the glass with the nose of their airplanes.
Yikes.
To get inspiration for the Zaz Kentucky Fried Theater skits, directors Jerry Zucker, David Zucker, and Jim Abrams would leave a videotape running all night recording late-night television with the aim of spoofing the commercials. One night they recorded the movie 0 Hour from 1957, which ultimately acted as the main inspiration for Airplane. The creators of Airplane acquired the rights to 0 Hour and used much of its plot and dialogue with a comedic twist. Leslie Neilson, known for his serious roles in the films like Forbidden Planet and the Poseidon Adventure, was cast as Dr. Rumick in Airplane. This role marked a transition for him into comedic roles as he went on to become famous for his delivery in films like the Naked Gun series. According to his autobiography, Sir Christopher Lee turned down the role of Dr. Rumick. The role went to Leslie Nielsen. He described this as a huge mistake. So it could have been Christopher Lee in this part.
I like Leslie Nielsen better in that role for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't imagine it as anyone else. So to find out that like it was gonna go to Christopher Lee is like, really? Wow. Peter Graves known mostly, right? Peter Graves known mostly for playing in ostensibly conservative leading men. Paternal and authority figures said he initially dismissed the script as disgusting crap. After rejecting the offer to his agent, Graves said he received a call within an hour from producer Hawk Kojic asking him to meet discussing the movie. Graves ultimately accepted in the meeting because he was frightened to basically do the part because he really be playing a spoof of himself, nothing about absurdist comedy. But I guess the big thing is he didn't want to do the scene where he's like, well, Tommy, have you ever been with a naked man? Like, he was really against that scene. And apparently he was pretty, like...
understandably so, but that's comedy gold.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to break some hearts for comedy, baby.
Yeah, he was he basically was a character who was attracted to young boys and did not commit to the movie. He later signed on because his family and friends who had read the script thought the role was hilarious and eventually talked him into accepting the role.
He's supposed to be letting his friends and family read the script that was probably for his eyes only.
Anyway, no, he probably
neither here
should.
nor there.
Yeah, it's quite not. The iconic line "Don't call me Shirley" was improvised by Leslie Nielsen during filming. The line became one of the most memorable quotes from the movie and was voted as number 79 movie quote by the American Film Institute. Peter,
and still stop calling me Shirley.
Yeah. Peter Graves, who played Captain Clarence Over, initially turned down the role because he thought the script was too silly. However, after reading it, he changed his mind and agreed to join the cast. His performance as the straight-faced, oblivious pilot became a fan favorite. The inflatable autopilot named Otto was operated by 3 different actors, a puppeteer, an animatronic operator, and an actor hidden inside the inflatable suit. This combination of techniques helped bring the character to life. And then
alive he became.
Yeah.
This was
Jimmy
like
J.J.
the Jabba the
Walker
Hutt of the Airplane movie world, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Was it to take 3 people to do Jabba the Hutt? I thought it took like way more.
No, it was 3 or 4.
Yeah. So yeah, Jimmy J.J. Walker starred the sitcom Good Times from 1974 as the windshield wiper man who falls from the plane after checking the oil. Walker had co-starred in the Concorde Airport set from 1979. just the previous year. That same year, in a chance encounter with producer Hawk Coe, Jimmy was asked if he wanted to appear in Airplane. Although Walker did not actually take Coe seriously, he was indeed contacted by Coe shortly after to play a small walk-on role. Coe thought it was a subtle inside joke about Jimmy Walker's career decline in airport disaster films. Walker was reportedly paid $600 for his appearance. So it was just like such a small part and such a little pay. Before this movie, when he was considered dramatic actor, Leslie Neilson appeared in Forbidden Planet in 1956, part of the premise in which Neilson plays the commander of a spacecraft exploring the galaxy, who frequently goes on away missions with his first officer and the ship's doctor, or a major inspiration for Star Trek, the original series from 1966.
And will be featured on season 2 of Hold Up, a Movie Podcast.
Okay. Nielsen's own character served as inspiration for Captain James C. Kirk, William Shatner. Shatner appeared in the sequel, Airplane 2, the sequel from 1982. Nielsen's next movie was with the Zucker brothers.
Bad movie. That was a very bad movie.
Well, the Zuckers and the Abrams did not have anything to do with that movie because they were like, we thought of every joke you can think of to do with an airport.
That explains how absolutely terrible it was.
So they went on and made The Naked Gun from Files of a Police Squad in 88, which paired him with Ricardo Montalban, who had also appeared on Star Trek. Cinematography by Joseph Baroque, edited by Patrick Kennedy, music by Elmer Bernstein, release date of July 2nd, 1980, runtime of 87 minutes with a budget of $3.5 million. And a box office of $171 million. It was considered a huge smash hit in the 80s.
That's big.
It's huge.
The rewatchability. I'm going to say it does because some of these gags were funny even like the next day hearing them again. So some of these gags are just pretty timeless.
Yeah, 100%.
They're so funny.
Yeah, I've seen this movie. I cannot count the number of times I've seen this movie, and it does not get old. I mean, of course, there are some scenes where it's like, right, okay. But really, I would say upwards of 80% of it is completely rewatchable humor.
Yeah, and for me, I find it's hard for comedies to hold up. They're one of the hardest genres to really hold up over time. A lot of it's so of its era. But no, this one's great.
I don't know about 100% of it, but a good 85% of it, in my opinion, holds up. But it gets easy rewatchability from me.
Does it hold up?
Yes.
Yeah.
It does as a comedy, but I would say in the modern socio-political world, it does not. I don't think that if this movie were to be made today, it would be received critically well. I think it would be.
I think you could possibly say that about any movie made before 1988.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
Even some after then. Especially the comedies. I mean, I agree with you to a degree there, Mike, but I think a worse example of that is when me and Murphy rewatched Animal House, and the whole time you watch that movie, you're just like, you feel offended. You're like, what? Like, you're like, this is awful. Like, this is awful. And you don't feel there. You don't watch this movie and just sit there going, this is awful. You're like, every now and then you're like, ooh, spicy. Or like,
true enough.
But like
the
there are
first
degrees
joke when he's
to that.
like, the first joke when he's doing the monologue and he comes back and it's just like the old lady's legs hanging from the ceiling. I was like, oh, that's good.
Well, that one's not
really
offensive
good.
though. You know what I mean? Like there are some that are racially or gender-wise like offensive in this film, right?
Well, there was
So
one where they
it's a product of his time, and I love it. And I'm not shit talking it for that. I'm just saying that.
I hate the fact that I'm forgetting his name, but it was the most like random cameo, and he just appeared as like the second suicide victim of the main character.
I Painted Brown.
No, not that guy. The guy before him, who was like the Japanese soldier that like does.
Oh yeah,
seppuku.
and yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Himself right
Did
in the
anybody
tree.
else recognize that guy?
No,
No. Can't say I did.
Really? Nobody else recognized him at all? It was such a like
Well,
small role.
it
I
was
was like,
brief.
oh
I didn't
wow.
really pay that close attention.
I gotta pull it up because I'm having some hard time remembering his name, to be fair, but he's been in like a ton of movies. He was actually even in Everything Everywhere All at Once recently, which is why I'm.
Hey, Kwan.
Was that it? No, not
Okay.
Ke Huy Quan. No, James Hong.
Oh,
Oh,
James,
James
Hong. That
Hong
was
was in
James
it.
Hong?
That was
Yeah,
James
that was James
Hong.
Hong.
Oh
Yeah.
shit.
Oh, James Hong's
Yeah.
Didn't
awesome.
even know.
Yeah,
I didn't
like what a
notice that,
waste
yeah.
of James Hong.
Kind of.
Like, hey James Hong, pop
Hope he
on
got
this
paid
plane.
well for that.
I don't
So
think
that was a
he did.
wishy-washy answer to the question there, Mike. Does it hold up?
I definitely think it holds up. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
As a comedy
Yeah,
movie,
right.
yes, it does. Yeah.
All right. Well, we've just added it to the A category. Airplane movies. Now let's just head over to theater 2, don't we?